Hey there, beautiful souls. I'm Colynn
And I'm Meridee.
and welcome to Spiritual Sisters with Sass, the podcast where two sisters with a passion for spirituality and a touch of sass come together to explore the exciting world of self-improvement.
That's right, Colynn. We embarked on this incredible journey together, diving into different self-improvement techniques, yoga practices, and a whole array of life experiences.
Yeah, and through it all, we've managed to create lives that are abundant, happy, and constantly evolving. It's been a wild ride, hasn't it, Meridee?
You bet, sis. We've got two very different perspectives on life, but that's what makes this podcast so special. I'm all about diving in head first into life's adventures and embracing every challenge with a bit of sass. While Colynn here, she's got her own unique approach.
Yep, that's me. And I'm all about the yoga, mindfulness, and finding my zen. And together we make the perfect balance.
So whether you're looking for some wisdom, a few laughs, or just some heartfelt stories, you're in the right place. We're here to share our personal experiences and insights with you, all while exploring the wild and diverse world of self-improvement.
So grab your headphones and get ready for a fantastic journey with us. Spiritual Sisters with Sass is here to uplift, inspire, and keep it real.
Thanks for tuning in, lovely listeners. Let's dive in.
Spirit and sass. Here we go.
Welcome, everybody. Okay, there we are. Now we're starting. Welcome, everybody, to today's episode of Spiritual Sisters with Sass. I'm Meridee. I'm the sassy one. And today we are just kind of going to continue our conversation around what's happening in our lives, but we're going to start. Lynn has been doing a chakra teacher training, and so she's just going to kind of dig into that, introduce it, and then we're going to talk about what we're going through and what chakras are out of balance because of what we're experiencing. So Lynn, I'm going to leave it to you while I drink some coffee.
Sweet. Thank you. So, okay, so we have an energy line we have several energy lines within our bodies. This is more about like how yoga is science. When I took teacher training, one of the things I had trouble with was the energetics and not necessarily the philosophy, but like the chakra system or the vayus or the koshas. Like they all sounded very nonsensical to me or fantastical. And I already had a problem with religion for that, right? Like here we got a bunch of shit going on that sounds like bullshit to me. And so I felt like that with yoga as well. Just being honest, I was a student for 14 years before I became a teacher. And I just Roy G. Biv in your body, spinning vortexes, like bullshit. No. How does this land when it comes to science? There you go. There they are. That's perfect. That's so beautiful.
Just a little picture for those who are watching. You can see that there's different colors for each one. This is actually an incense thing.
Yeah.
And so it has the different colors, and you're going to get into the colors and the meanings as we do this, right?
Totally. So that's what hit for me. Okay. Couple differences. First, we have Western science, right? Well, first we have Eastern science, because literally we have that first.
Yeah.
And Eastern science is the study of life. So guess what they study for the study of life? Living beings.
Oh, life.
People that are alive. Okay, now we have Western science. Guess what we study for life?
The death.
Right?
Yeah,
we will, I mean, to dissect a cadaver is desecration in Eastern philosophy. You burn bodies, you don't disrupt them in that way. So what we have is this at minimum 10,000-year-old practice in which all people study live people. Now, they don't have TVs, phones, medical degrees, or microscopes, so they're more in tune with people's energy, right? We even have like gurus that can see it. So they can see these energy centers within the body that are moving shifting, changing, and blocked. Okay. In Western science, we cut it open, right? And what
Right down the center of the chakras.
right? Right down the center. And what do we see? Like the first thing that we talk about in the chakra system is something called Sushumna Nadi. Now, Nadi, Nadi, it translates to like rivers or tubes. So we have over 72,000 nadis in the body, with the main one being called either Brahma Nadi or Sushumna Nadi. That Sushumna Nadi it goes from about here all the way down to your lower butt crack. It's your freaking spinal cord. What I had to get was that this energy talk, it's not just weird bullshit. So to be honest, when people were saying that Sushumna Nadi is a bunch of white light energy that runs in front of the spine, I started to see, no, it is the spine.
Nervous system, right?
The spinal cord, yes. And so now we have these rivers flowing within our body full of energy. We have the respiratory system, the cardiovascular system, and the nervous system. And they didn't cut bodies open, so and they don't have microscopes, so how do they explain it? Here's what's amazing, they did. Now we cut it open, we're like, this is an artery, this is a vein, this is a nerve. How amazing is this? So this idea of like colored chakras is actually bullshit. In 1970 something, this dude shows up and says, oh, you know what? I'm going to make some money. I'm going to culturally appropriate these chakras and bring in some money from it. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to lose one because 8 doesn't fit into the pattern of the rainbow. So they take the bindu at the back of the head and it just disappears. Nobody knows about it. And I'm going to, from the base, call it red all the way up to indigo. So Roy G. Biv, right? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. So there's only 7 of those colors, so I can only have 7 chakras. So it's like, and yet nowadays people take that as like, that's what it is. It's energetic, red energy in my, the base of my pelvis. And the reality is it is energy. And it is a way that they could explain different glands and what happened in the body when those glands were out of balance and the injury or dis-ease that happened in the body related to, we start with the root chakra, survival. What's survival? Fight or flight.
Is also not the root chakra attached to sexual energy?
No, not at all. The root chakra is literally your survival. It's developed, Erik Erikson's psychosocial stages of development. It's developed when you're in utero and you were born and either your needs are met or they're not. So you learn that you can either trust people or you learn mistrust and you can only trust yourself. So you're born to a person, mainly your mother, who either meets your needs or not. And that's how we continue to build upon that foundation, which could be very like messy overall. So let's look at the chakras. Okay. So we've got the root chakra. That's the very bottom of the spine. Think about it like, it's not always the funnest to be like, imagine a point between your genitals and your anus, but do that.
Your taint.
And your taint, and that's where your root chakra is, because that's literally where it divides and then heads down, and that's how you're in contact with the earth. So your root chakra, it's said to be red. Red is the densest color, so it's not like it's bullshit, but it was made up. Okay, when a guru saw root chakra, they didn't see red. They saw white. They saw energy. But like also now, if someone does see different colors, that's totally cool too, because it's what we've been programmed, as we grow and evolve. So root chakra, very like survival based. Okay, now we move up into the pelvis, into the pelvic bowl. And I want you to think about that. I always teach people like your pelvis is a bowl. Let's move it forward and back. How are you going to dump out the water? So it's very, and root chakra earth. So when we've moved up into this bowl that possibly holds water, this is your fluidity, this is your emotions, this is your external creativity, like how you present yourself to the world, and it's your sexuality. So this is your sacral chakra, also known as Svadhisthana. The first one is called your Muladhara. Then we move up into solar plexus. I have an interesting relationship.
And the last, wait, before we move there, the first one is red. The second one is orange.
Orange, yeah. And the third one is yellow. It's called your Manipura. And okay, let's just take another side note of the difference between live and dead bodies. Everywhere that there is a chakra, from the live study, if I cut open a person and go to those areas in their body, that's where there's a plexus of nerves. So a bunch of nerves come together. So this is how it translates to Western science, and maybe isn't such bullshit. This is how I could connect. Oh my goodness. So if I go into my perineum, if you go into your genitals, do you have a lot of nerve endings there?
Yeah.
Yes, you do. Right? When we go into the sacral chakra, you have something called the sacrum at the base of your spine. And it's like 5 fused vertebrae. And guess what? It's where the end of the spinal cord comes down and all the roots make their way down both legs to the ground. So there's a lot of nerves coming out of this area, and it's called the sacral plexus. Let's move up to the what? The solar what?
Plexus.
The fuck? Yeah. The solar plexus chakra. So this is like your willpower. This is your confidence. This is your discipline. This is also your digestion. Right? So there was a breath from you. And so I'm just noting that because your body is always talking to me. So there was something to do with your solar plexus chakra that your body's like signaling you on right now. Probably a similar imbalance since we're not the same, but we're very similar. Right? So this chakra is yellow. This chakra out of balance. This is what we start to see when we're out of balance. We can see how that presents. So for me, if I'm out of balance in my solar plexus chakra, I actually will break out into like rashes. I get ulcers. I also have the opposite of like your digestion is very related, right? So you've got the mesentery here. That's a lot of nerves directly connected to your brain. So if you're not okay here, you're not okay here.
So, to get disgusting, because we're going there. If you're stressed, you're going to notice that you're going to, and she says digestion, and I'm just going to call it what it is. You're probably going to have diarrhea or constipation. You're going to be in one or the other, and it shows the imbalance, which side you're imbalanced in. Maybe you're, for example, like me, like if I get stressed out, I don't want to eat. Food is not my thing. Whereas other people are the complete opposite of that, where they get stressed out and all they want to do is stuff their faces. I am not that person. The minute I get stressed, I have to force myself to eat. And most of the time, all I want to do is throw up if I do force myself to eat.
We have to be very clear on what that means for stress as well, because we have the stress of being in fight or flight all the time, which is very root chakra. And then we have the stress of doing, controlling, not stopping. That's more solar plexus. Does that mean now they're very related, and it's already from an imbalance in the root,
and they go all the way up.
Yes.
Each one is directly related to the next and to the ones before. So
yep.
I'm with you on that.
So then we move up to the heart. The plexus there is the cardiac plexus. So we have, I mean, your whole heart and cardiovascular system is based off of an electrical system, right?
Let's talk about tattoos on your soul, on your sacrum. Or I mean, not your sacrum, sorry, on your sternum, and the compilation of all those nerves coming together.
Yeah.
And the plexus of that, like the most uncomfortable place.
The worst. Yeah, thus far. And very common. So the cardiovascular system and the respiratory system are very linked here. So this is green. this is grief too, right? This is
Mhm.
really related to like how you process grief specifically. Remember, emotions are down in the sacral chakra. So it's not just like one or the other either. It's very intermingled, kind of like us as human beings. We're not just like a skeletal system plus a muscular system. Neither of those will work without each other. So
Yeah.
we're co-evolving codependent system of systems. We're an organ system. So when you move up, there's throat chakra. Throat chakra, very thyroid related. It's about not speaking your truth. It's blocked by lies, like not people pleasing.
Or over speaking your truth, which can cause,
Yeah,
so again, I
yeah,
have thyroid problems and I don't have a problem speaking my truth whatsoever. So it can also be the way that it moves it around.
right.
Hypothyroid, or had, I don't have it anymore. I'm not on any medications for it or anything like that. I do have to stay on top of my treatments in order to keep it taken care of. But that throat chakra is, for me, also imbalanced. And it's also now, as you get into there's muscle groups and muscle testing and energy meridians and all the things. So all of these things come together. And for example, with one, you'll often find another. So on the opposite spectrum is one. And so now my question comes to you, because I haven't done a chakra training and we did it very briefly in our yoga. Stomach, or my throat and my solar plexus, how the two of them can connect.
Well, they'll connect through your heart and the way that you deal with your grief. So also solar plexus is fire, and then heart is air. So in
And
order to
air,
have a fire, we must have air. It means you need to breathe deep. Otherwise, you're restricting both chakras. And then as we move up, this is ether, right? With is the fifth element if you go in the five elements, because there's also a belief of four elements, air being the last. So the connection is through the elements, as well as like how is it that you process grief? Because if you can't process grief appropriately, then your throat's going to be out of balance because you're not crying, you're not expressing. So just because you talk a lot and you don't have a problem telling people how it is with you doesn't mean that all the words are like impeccable. So a lot of people can talk but not really say anything. And then also there's probably places, Meridee, where you're people pleasing and you're not aware of it. So you're bypassing by being overly like compensating about like speaking your truth, or maybe even other people's truth for them, which is a bypass of either not saying something, right? We've talked about this. Your heart, this is what's coming up for me right now, because we've talked about this, because I try to coach. Meridee's like, you got to coach with my sister. She's so amazing. And then Meridee takes the role of the person that I'm coaching. So I think about Lindsay, when Lindsay and I were talking one time and I'm asking her, and Meridee's like, you blah, 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 and see this. And she's like, but she's not bad all the time, but she did this, and she's like really in it. I'm like, Meridee, stop, Meridee, stop, Meridee, stop. That one time, I think I said like Meridee, stop like 6 times, and then people just showed up and we kind of just moved on. You don't want people to hurt. Right? We did this with Sari too in teacher training. There was a way that you were bypassing them feeling the discomfort of being in the place of like owning whatever that was. So you just took it for them because you're pretty comfortable with being uncomfortable. You're a little less comfortable with being comfortable.
mm-hmm.
So by not being able to like process what's here for you, you're processing others. That's your bypass. You're processing their emotions, which means that you're speaking for them and not necessarily for yourself. If you're trying to correct, let's just say my daughter or your best friend or a person that you hang out with, I'm thinking of like a guy named Mike. I don't know, this isn't, but whatever. I'm thinking of like a guy named Mike that you've spent a lot of time with. And
Nicole.
yeah, yes. And I think that you'll try to like work it out for them so that they're just on the other side of like, oh, this is good, but the real juice or the nectar of the situation is really sitting in the
Going through
emotion,
it.
right?
Yeah.
So there you go. That's the answer. That's how they're super connected, because it's through the heart.
Well, and you mentioned grief, and I'm certainly grieving an idea that I had and that
Right.
I've held on to for 22 years
Yeah.
that I'm realizing is not a reality.
Yeah.
And that's been a hard one because now I'm realizing I'm trying to fix my own wound through other people again. So I try to fix theirs and now I'm trying to fix my own, but push
Right.
it through them in a lot of ways. And so I'm grieving. And what starts to surface for my physical body is my goiter in my thyroid,
Yeah.
which is not pointed on the outside, which is why you can't see it on my neck. It's pointed on the inside. And so when I swallow, I'll feel the lump. And it shows up far more strongly when I'm going through something that I'm struggling with.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, moving
Okay.
up past the throat.
So throat, blue, ether, blocked by lies. Now we move to third eye. Third eye is Ajna chakra. It's indigo, so a mix between blue and purple. It's like a deep, rich, purplish kind of color. And it's all about your intuition. So it's really about like connecting to the fact that we're all connected, that you already know, and moving from that place of like faith and understanding instead of control.
Yeah.
Right. And then we have our crown chakra, which is like, it's literally just your connection, it's just your connection with God.
No big deal. Not in the whole universe. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. It's like divine connection. And if I think about the teachings of yoga and connecting to true self, right? True self is both out and in, deep, deep, deep within, but also like up, because we truly are connected, which I think is it's a hard experience to have unless you have found enlightenment in some sort of way, whether it be through DMT, you can find it through meditation, you can find it through Kundalini awakening. Like there's different ways that we can have glimpses of what it's like to be truly connected. But that's when you connect to like your source, the ocean of consciousness, recognizing like, oh, you can actually see that you are a freaking eye down on this earth full of bullshit stories and drama.
And yet the bullshit stories and drama are an important part of your existence.
This chakra, your third eye chakra, is it's light, and then your crown chakra is thought. So subcategories of the element of ether. So if you can see, the heart really is the middle point between like the more materialistic, grounded, kind of like denser chakras, and then we have the lighter, finer chakras. And really the chakras are a great way to recognize like how you're out of imbalance. Really.
Well, and what I find interesting is like as soon as you said like our third eye and intuition, it's interesting because when I feel intuition, we call it a gut feeling, and I feel it more in my gut than I do in my forehead or in between my eyebrows. If I'm feeling a gut feeling, it's in my gut. It's telling me, and I know I need to follow it. And it's that faith-based. But it's just so interesting because even many people I've talked to, I've asked them, like, when you feel that feeling and you just know, where do you feel? In my gut. It's a gut feeling. Well, it's based here, which means it probably runs through all of your chakras into your gut, solar plexus, and that's where the action can be taken from the thought.
Brain gut connection is direct.
And the brain gut connection is, even though it's only kind of newly found, it really is like one of the most important pieces of information that we can take. What you eat is going to affect how your brain works. So if you're eating processed foods all the time, you won't notice it until you stop eating the processed foods all the time and eating whole foods for say a week while you're building your microbiome back. Suddenly your brain is more refreshed. And like everything changes. And it's just so interesting how it all moves. For me, I had a gut feeling, it was uncomfortable. That gut feeling has moved into grief in my heart. And that grief in my heart has moved into me needing to say certain things and people not wanting, a certain person or people not wanting to hear the words that are coming out. So now I don't feel heard. And it's in between these, like these chakras are moving. And now if I'm smart, I will sit and I will do a meditation to allow them to move out through my crown chakra so that it can be connected to the spirit, so that I can then figure out what I need to do and how to move through this, which I have a shaman. So I sit with her and she really, it's funny because that's when I sighed. I didn't really notice the sigh, but when you brought it up, where she worked on in my last session was entirely my, not entirely, but the majority of her work was done on my solar plexus. And so taking action, also the change that I need to make within the grieving process and the actions that I have to do in order for this change to come about.
I like that so much good here. Don't you hear it? So, I mean, the first thing you said was, we're just finding this out more recently. Bullshit. Sciences, Western study of dead people is finding this out. They've known this in yoga for well over 10,000 years. They've explained it in nonsensical terms, I guess, to the Western mind. So it's nothing new. All we're doing now is showing that, oh, yogis knew exactly how to do it. I mean, Eastern medicine
without cutting
also,
open bodies.
and Chinese medicine, like, wow, holy shit, look at, they were right. So first and foremost, there's that. And then you said, it's so funny, just, you said, when this is going on, I have to sit down and meditate.
I need to root.
Ground, because then you're like, so that I can. You need to root, you need to ground first and foremost, always, because it's coming back to that. Like, would you build your house on a fucking sinkhole? No. Not on purpose, but yet we have built our entire chakra system on a sinkhole. Because just being born in these times now is very, like, we're in chronic fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
So the root chakra is really connected to the adrenal glands that sit upon the kidneys. Mm-hmm. And the way that
the adrenal on the Chinese medicine charts, the adrenals and the spleen are complete opposites of each other. So if your adrenals are overdone, then your spleen's not doing its job.
Right. It's incredibly amazing, because if you're up here too much, I mean, I can tell when someone's up there too much. It's a huge turnoff to me, because I'm so down here. I'm so grounded, right? That's a turnoff to a lot of really airy vata etherical people, because I want the tangible, and I want to be able to explain it, and I want to be able to prove it. So
I feel like I'm a combination of both, because as much as I want to prove it and see it and touch it, everything in me is also that I need to have faith in it, and I don't need to see it, because the things we believe in most of the things we believe in, you can't see. Faith or fear, right? Like, you can't see either of those things, but you get to choose which one to believe in. Well, right. I'm definitely going to be choosing faith, because fear is ugly for me.
Lots of people just choose fear without even knowing that that's like their norm. Yeah. So I think, like, I appreciate that, and we need to have all types of people. But in order for me to get through to who I need to get through to, I have to prove to you that, like, so one of the sayings that I read in a book by Deepak Chopra, and I've said this before, is that science is the explanation of God by God to the human nervous system. So for me, the way that I can explain, oh, you want to be happy in your life, then here's the way that you do that, like by a tangible practices that are proven medically and studied to just prove what these people knew all this time ago.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
it's
can
very
use
interesting.
your chakra system to diagnose where you're at and what you're struggling with. Because if you always go back to the base, back to your foundation, that's a great place to start. Go back to grounding and
Yep.
then create some stable ground and build from there.
Yeah.
If you have, if you have sexual trauma, that's not ever going to get resolved until you're able to really like clear it out.
Yeah, you have to sit with it.
Your guilt is really related to your root chakra, and your shame is related to your sacral chakra. I think I'm mixing this up a little bit too, because I feel like there's shame with solar plexus as well. But
I find it, sorry, go ahead.
the only way that you're going to come back to a place of balance is to come back to the root chakra. Some people will be like, I do this chakra teacher training, and I've had people come and do it. And the first time I did it, someone became a chakra therapist. And so she sits with you, lets you talk, and writes it down like where the imbalances are and what they are. Because sometimes an imbalance can be like, let's say jealousy or envy can be an overactive solar plexus or an underactive heart.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really like I need details so I can support in a deeper understanding so that I'm not misdiagnosing an overactive solar plexus as opposed to an underactive heart, because those are different. Well, you know
Yeah.
what? They'd probably be pretty similar. You need to slow
Yeah,
down.
they're so tied to each other.
Connect. But like you really want to go back. So I have a free PDF that I just created that's like, it's awesome. And all it is like yes, okay, great. Everybody wants to know, are they overactive or underactive? And then how do they counter this? And what one can do immediately is wear red. That's not going to make you more active or less active. It's going to bring balance to the chakra, right? And where your attention goes, your energy grows. So if your focus is to balance your root chakra, then that's what you're going to create. And if you're going to wear red, that's not going to set you over the scale where you're too grounded. But what
Yeah.
it will allow you to do is check in. Like a lot of thin people are really ungrounded. They don't have enough weight on their body to keep them in a grounded place. And a lot of overweight people don't feel safe or secure at all. And so they put more layers between them and the outer world because they're hurt and they want to protect themselves. And you can do all the work you want on the outside, but it doesn't change what's inside. And so it's really about like when the outside falls into play, or when the inside is kind of like working or balance, and the outside will fall into place. If you're not stressed and trying to protect yourself all the time, then weight probably isn't going to be an issue. So just practicing like yoga poses for the root chakra is going to help you to balance the root chakra. And that's
There's also tons of meditations you can get for your chakras through YouTube, through Lynn's website.
Yeah.
All sorts of. Okay, so just a quick question. Can you quickly let people know how they can get this PDF?
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Thank you, Mare. If you would like the PDF, you can either hit me up on Instagram, friction_yoga. Or
and it's spelled the Photonic way, so you have to FRIK-SHUHN, right?
Yeah. So you can send me an email if you want at colynn@friction.com, and it's FRIKSHUHN, which is a little bit annoying. Business 101, make your business name easy to spell.
Uh-huh. It is. It's funny because for some reason it keeps coming up. My kids always say she's such a hippie, which is so funny to me because to us, a hippie is not, I'm not a hippie. I'm just not a hippie. So for me, a hippie is like, the 70s. Okay. As I'm like starting to say it out loud, I'm like, okay, maybe. So it's the 70s. Bell bottom wearing. Oh, check. Pot smoking. Yep, used to, check. Incense burning. Oh, shit, check. Faith believing. Oh shit, check.
You're a fucking hippie.
I am a fucking hippie. And my kids call me that all the time, and it's just so funny because to me, like this, like it's not offensive to me at all. I actually think it's really cute that they call me a hippie, and they say it in the cutest way of like it's totally said with love. Like it's not this like total, oh, she's a hippie. It's like, oh, my mom is a hippie. Like, you know, they'll come in and they'll hear even my music. And to me, again, the music of a hippie is like the 70s stuff. And that's not the shit that I listen to. Like, that is not the stuff I listen to. The stuff that I listen to is like anything that makes me dance, feel. Okay. Again, hippie. But to me, the hippies were in the 70s because
Right.
when I started thinking about hippies, it was the 90s.
Right.
Now, if we really look at that, the 90s are the hippies to the kids nowadays. And the 90s is what I guess where I was brought up and raised. Now, that being said, I didn't smoke pot in the 90s, really. I did for maybe a year.
These are just labels
just,
and stories you have. This is how labels aren't helpful.
but also I'm totally okay with this label because this label really does work for me. I base most of my stuff on faith. And when I say faith, it's not a religion, it's having faith that everything is going to work out the way it's supposed to, having faith that, you know, something greater than myself has my back, having faith that there's a purpose that I'm here, having faith that everything happens for a reason. Like for me, yeah, if you want to call me a fucking hippie, guess what? I will wear that badge of honor because in so many ways, I'm a fucking hippie and I'm proud to be a hippie. So, and again, with us, if we look at it, the hippies in the day, and back in the day, even in the 70s for us, those hippies were not the norm. They were the unusual. They were the ones doing things that, you know, people thought were weird. Well, I do all that personal growth stuff that a lot of people think is weird. You know, like as I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to tell my kids you're right. The next time they're like, she's just a hippie, I'm going to be like, yes, I am. That is the label you can call me. Because it's so true for me. And I am proud to say that I do, and that I'm not part of the, you know, the norm, and that I am unusual and I like being unique. So it's really just an interesting thing. And how, you know, like within that, I'm going to say my places that my chakras are probably the most out of balance right now are the ones right in the middle. So my throat, my heart, and my solar plexus are the three tied together that are out of balance. And they probably stem from the heart. And I've obviously heard this multiple times as well, is your heart needs more room to breathe. I have spent a lot of time protecting it, hunched over, also protecting my neck, and that hunched over protects both. Protecting my heart, really, because I'm a fucking softie to the core, and yet had to be hard to try to protect myself. And, you know, like the grief that I'm feeling around the relationships that are not going to be what I always wanted them to be is definitely affecting both the things that I say as well as the actions that I'm taking now. And now how I'm having to change the things that I say as well as the actions that I'm taking, because I need to make sure that I'm in alignment with me and what feels good, even though it's shifting from what it was before.
If ever you're wanting to know, you know, if you have a dis-ease, I mean, I even have like a scar on my knee, burn on my back, tennis elbow, like hamstring issue. Just Google it. What's the spiritual meaning of blank? And it's pretty much in the same vicinity. You know, my legs, my knees, all that, root chakra. My elbows are an extension of my heart, right? My or they could be expression as well. My hamstrings, very root chakra related. So any kind of like, if you have heart issues, that's unresolved grief. If you have lung issues, it's unresolved grief. Like It doesn't take the vicinity of the area. You got digestive things going on. That's solar plexus, right? You got some
So
like
interesting, because thinking about that too, in the way that we're talking about this, for me, think about how many years of my life I spent sick to my stomach. Like sick. Like every morning I woke up and I would throw up. And this is why I always say, like, if I can avoid throwing up for the rest of my life, I would like to do that, because I feel that I've probably thrown up more than an average person by far, because of the nausea in the mornings. Being pregnant, all I did was throw up for basically 18 months.
if that normal person was me, you puked much more than I have because I barely throw up.
And I have thrown up, like being pregnant, I literally threw up pretty much, say, a minimum with my son, and probably lower. And I used to say, I feel great, 5 times a day with my daughter. And then on top of that, I felt ill and not proper until probably 38 years old, from probably 18. So for probably 20 years, I threw up, felt nauseous, didn't feel like my digestive. I also wasn't the best eater, like what I ate, how much I ate, like all of the things related to digestion, food intake, all of those things in me were so out of balance. And then because you don't eat enough food, you don't poop very much. And when you do, they're not what should be normal. So in conversations with you, the nurse in you always says that it should be like a soft serve ice cream poop, is what she always says. And mine would either be one extreme or another. So I'd, diarrhea or constipation. Very rarely did I ever have what they call a healthy poop. And this is over the last 20 years of really noticing now that I'm becoming so much more spiritually aware, or more hippie, I definitely see where these tie in, like the throat, the heart, and the solar plexus. And not just that, but let's talk about who I was even a year ago, the aggression that I took the world on with, the anger and frustration, and the power that I would come into the world with. And one of the things that I've been working on over the last year and with my shaman is soft power is actually far more powerful than loud power. Loud power, people shun from. People are like, that's not nice.
Well, see, what you're saying right now in yoga is a balance between masculine and feminine. And when we look at the nadis are full of our prana, or our life force, and our energy. And our energy is only in balance if it's balanced between the masculine and the feminine, or in Chinese medicine, they'll say the yin and the yang.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is out of balance masculine, a
Big
toxic
time.
masculine, and then the toxic feminine. So
Yeah.
you're toxic.
Mm-hmm.
And when you bring it back in, it's just telling you where, like what to work on to bring yourself back into balance, which will then, like I just see like a matrix thing happening,
Like
which
a
will
puzzle
then
putting together.
allow you, yeah, which will then allow you to grieve because you don't have to be so hard. You have a physically hard body. You have overactive metabolism, or I don't even think that's an actual thing, but you have a quicker metabolism than I do. You have a hard exterior. Like these are all things to look at, to bring into account, not of being right or wrong, but really what could use your attention in the moment. And what you're seeing is you're starting to heal your solar plexus, and therefore it's offering you entrance into your grief and also your expression or creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's really good. If anybody has questions, I'm always open to chat about it. And I have a million chakra things. And I'm thinking about creating like a 500-hour teacher training that's chakra based. I think it'd be really cool. So you would be like a chakra therapist at the end.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
That would be very cool. I've worked a bit with it because of I did Touch for Health, which is, I'm only a level 1 practitioner. But it works with muscle testing, and you've done this with Rafa, and where you like put your arm out and you ask a question, and if it's true, it holds, and if it's not true, you'll just find weakness in the muscle, and that's your body telling you. Now it comes the same with the foods you put into your body. You can hold something and have somebody push down, is this good for my body? And it'll tell you yes or no. It's just amazing that what the energies within our body can do if we're willing to allow ourselves to do those things.
Vijnanamaya
So,
kosha.
yeah, find your way to happiness. And that's literally, I mean, and we're not saying, oh, we found our way to happiness, we're in enlightenment. I've experienced enlightenment, and I've said this over and over. My belief is that we are here to experience. We choose whether we put a title on it of good. There she is. And for me, challenges help me to either grow or I sit in them. And again, another lesson that I just recently learned is, because I have this attitude of the challenges is helping me to grow, stop looking so hard for the lesson because I'll miss it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Again, finding balance in the things that we're doing. Well, I feel like that was a good chat, a good place to end.
Yes.
So
Perfect.
thank you everybody for joining us. We appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
And
let everybody know about Laser Quit as well.
And you guys, so yeah, if you're looking for Lynn's PDF on the chakras, feel free to get in touch with her. She will help you do it. Laser Quit is doing a sobriety challenge for the month of October. So 31 days of sobriety, which means no drugs, no alcohol. You check in on a Facebook group and you have a habit tracker, and then you just show us your habit tracker or show and or comment on the posts that we make every single day within the group. And then we'll be randomly choosing someone. Now, you don't have to be perfect to be in the challenge, but we are going to be looking at the people who are the most consistent to put them into the draw. And the draw is going to give you guys an option to, what we're doing is we're giving away a Laser Quit addictions treatment, gold. So your first 2 treatments, value of $5.99. We're giving that to you, and it is fully transferable. So if you are already sober, you can join this challenge, and then you can be sober. If you win at the end, you can give the package to somebody you love. Now, the additional part of this is that we're going to put you into this draw, and the draw is also going to give you a ticket to our sober dance party in Kamloops on November 9th. And we're super excited about that. It is going to be a sold out show. Right now, the tickets haven't sold, but the interest is over 150, and we only have room for 100 people. So we will be hopefully doing these sober dance parties once a month because of the success of this one. And then in each of our locations, I will start looking into doing it in those locations as well. So
I love it.
If you guys are interested, just make sure you reach out to me or Laser Quit, and it's LASERQUIT.therapy on Instagram, or look up Laser Quit headquarters on Facebook, and you'll be able to find us and join our challenge.
Thanks everyone for coming, and we'll see you
Bye,
again
guys.
next week. Thank you for joining us on this spirited journey today.
We hope you enjoyed diving into the world of self-improvement with us. 2 sisters who found their own unique paths.
Remember, life is a tapestry of experiences, and it's how we embrace them that makes all the difference.
So whether you're on your yoga mat, exploring mindfulness, or simply navigating life's twists and turns, always keep that spirit and sass alive.
We are Colynn and Meridee Locked Up, and we're here to remind you that happiness and abundance are within reach.
Stay connected with us on social media and keep those questions and stories coming. We love hearing from you.
Until next time, beautiful souls, keep doing the work, keep sharing your experiences, and keep living a life that's authentically you.
And never forget to add a little extra sass to your day.
Spirit and sass, always.